We're here with the
Sorry, we're cut off the best entrance music.
I know,
of
the
any
ravishing
wrestler
one.
on this particular pay-per-view.
Oh, it gets you jazzed. As soon as the music hit for this guy, my eyes just like lit up, and I was like, "Ooh!" But welcome everyone. It's the second Rumblecast in all of existence, and this time we are covering WCW Halloween Havoc 1993. So this was a Sloop suggestion, and I believe it was probably because of the main event was what drew you to this.
That was the first match I'd watched on this card.
Yeah.
But then when the network was a thing, RIP.
Yeah.
I actually watched the whole pay-per-view because I went back and started watching. Because I never watched WCW very much at all. And in 90, anything before 96, I didn't watch wrestling at all. So I'd never seen any of this stuff. So I thought, well, I'll go back and it's there. And I'll watch it, and I'll just see if it was any good. And this one, I really liked because it's got a proper theme.
Yeah.
And I do miss that about some of the 90s stuff. You had proper themed pay-per-views. You had the Bash at the Beach, which was, all
insane.
Beach themed.
Sometimes had water in the stadium.
And then was one, I think it was 95, which was actually on a beach.
Yeah.
And there was just people around them on a beach.
Like
and then
break.
Halloween Havoc. Yeah, like spring break. And then Halloween Havoc had the whole Halloween stuff. You had the big pumpkins. You had that that whole thing in the big theme and stuff. And I just kind of miss the fact that pay-per-views don't seem to do that anymore. And I think we should bring that back. Personally.
I know logistically why they don't do it, because they're like, oh, we can design a one-size-fits-all stage, and we will just, use LED screens to make it look something else. But you're not gonna get styrofoam gravestones with Vader spray painted on them.
Or Elvis Lives, which I noticed was spray painted on one of them as well. And even in 1998, I think that had a famous bouncy Halloween Havoc pumpkin thing in the arms of this big sort of Baphomet looking thing, and it looked class. And then even WWF used to make an effort. You had Backlash used to have them big swinging
the hooks, I'll tell you what,
so cool,
those hooks just set everyone's imaginations off, and Backlash is the most iconic stage.
It was like a Saw entrance. It was some Jigsaw would have built, and that sort of stuff.
And the King of the Ring with the big electric chair and the swords and everything.
Yeah. They look great, and I know now obviously it's a lot cheaper to, like I said, have the LED lights and put everybody's names up and colours and have different entrance bits.
And they can have a horrible, really bad CGI snake show up for Randy Orton. Let's
not talk about the snake. And I miss that sort of charm and stuff. I mean, they even had it in the late 90s, but then it seemed to just fall away, sort of early to mid 2000s, and it become a bit more.
Once we lost the SmackDown fist, it was all over.
Yeah. And they're just lazy now, and they just put fancy lights up and some nice fireworks occasionally as well. But
this WCW Halloween Havoc set is the best person in the streets Halloween decorations.
Yeah, they've got the big garden. They made their effort. They put the skeletons.
Yeah, they've customized the gravestones. It is just spray paint though.
It is, but they've bothered with the the wheel looks cool. They've got the fake smoke and all that sort of stuff, and like you said, the graves and all that lovely business, and they've put effort in. To
set the scene, it opens with a mini horror movie.
So much. Tony Schiavone is one of those blokes who, on commentary, I can take him or leave him. I'm not that fussed,
he's okay. Really. Yeah.
But I'd say his best work for me. I know he's with Bobby Heenan quite a lot in later WCW, but his stuff with Jesse Ventura is by far my favourite, because they really take the piss out of each other.
Yeah.
And this whole thing, this skit at the beginning, it was really quite sinister, and I was quite terrified of him.
They go for like, so like we'll set the scene. They go for the cliche of like the kids showing up for like trick or treating, and they're like, guys, it's getting late. We're gonna miss WCW Halloween Havoc, and he's like, shut up, sister. He's like, oh, little sisters, like all this like overacted stuff. And yeah, whose house should they show up to on the last house? But a very upright Tony Schiavone being like, hello, children.
This is not sinister at all. I did write down that it's like an episode of Goosebumps.
Yeah, it's got hella Goosebumps vibes.
Proper, and with the kids acting in the way that they're dressed up and stuff. It's definitely like, do you know the episode The Haunted Mask where they went on, it was a Halloween thing and she bought the mask? That's what the kids all reminded us of. It was like extra.
Oh, the Haunted Mask's got on Vader.
You can't take it off. My favourite line in this bit is the bit where the kids went, well, what's that smell? And then Tony Schiavone just went, my wife. Skookies. Like,
yes.
Really weird pause.
Yeah, because I was like,
so good.
Because I thought they were gonna go for a like he's killed his family angle.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a bit too scary. But no, like, you know, they get in the house and he's like, you know, oh, you know, we're gonna have. Oh my god, Angel Interceptor is raiding. Thank you so much for the party 64.
This is not a gaming channel. And if no one likes wrestling, then hello. Yes. Hello everyone. Hi.
We're talking Halloween Havoc. So the Halloween trick-or-treaters get inside Tony Schiavone's house. And they're like, this isn't scary. And he's like, you want to see something scary?
Scary.
Rips his skin off. The go. And then he's like a giant bat creature.
It's so weird. Like, is this for kids or is this for adults? I couldn't tell, but I wasn't either.
Yeah. But like, yeah, so like, and then it like just crash fades into the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
like with the scary
music. Do the kids
music.
die? Do they get eaten? What happens? They may have got pulped.
I think so. But then Tony Schiavone is on commentary, but then he's also dressed as Jesse the Body Ventura. And he leaves the bald cap on all night. That's commitment.
Can I just say hello to everybody, by the way? Hi.
It's amazing to see you.
Thank you for raiding Angel, you silly person. No one's going to hang about because wrestling. And does anyone care about wrestling? If you're in chat, just pretend you do and stay.
Yeah.
And follow if you want to. This isn't just what they do on this channel, by the way.
Oh, we do a bit of everything. But this is possibly the biggest raid I've ever had. So hand on heart, thank you very much. This is incredible.
And Angel may be on very soon.
Yeah, here's hoping. Fingers crossed. Yes, Halloween Havoc 93 starts, and there is, what do you call it, gravestones. The crowd's wild. Everyone's like, you know, there's like members of the crowd dressed up as wrestlers because everything's like Halloween vibe. Jesse, the Body Ventura, is dressed up like a doctor, and he's like, I'm the #1 gynecologist on Bourbon Street. And I'm like, what's happening?
I'm also confused as to, first and foremost, I'm enjoying the fact he's dressed as a doctor. I'm unsure why that is.
He looks like Isaac Yankem.
He does look like Isaac Yankem. And I do also like the fact that before the cut to Eric Bischoff, who's for some reason dressed as a Civil War soldier.
Oh my god. Yeah, they call him General Custer. He was a very
General
bad
Custer.
man.
He pulls, Jesse Ventura pulls out the thermometer and says that your temperature's fine, Tony, because he's took his arse temperature
while he was standing next to him.
While he was standing there. I love that. I love the whole that stupid bit. It was just great. And Tony Schiavone actually looked like Jesse, and Jesse kind of told him, I think he said, well, you look good, sort of thing. Even though he's going to stick on beard and stick on mustache.
There was a part where he's like, your mustache has fallen off, and he like rips his little beard thing off. Though absolute, that's what you was when you were saying the best when they're having fun with each other, and sometimes the commentary gets in the way of the fun, and they have to like call it straight, and I think that's when they clash a bit. But in this like entry moment, they're having like a blast, and he's like, well, you know, that must have been you impersonating me, because I wasn't just in that house with the, you know, like, the haunted trick-or-treat house. They've got lore. But yeah, I loved it. So we need to set up the big gimmick for this pay-per-view is the spin the wheel to make a deal match or stipulation. which is a giant wheel with like cow horns coming out of it.
It's fucking great, man. Again, this effort has been put in. Someone's made that with their bare hands and designed it, and put it together.
It doesn't happen yet, but it has fireworks built into it also.
Yes, so sparkless.
And a knife to pick the category.
Yeah. We'll come to the wheel later because there's a bit of stuff that I've got queries about that wheel. But yeah, so that's going to set up the main event, and we'll come back to that, as I think it's after. Is it before the Ric Flair match?
It's weird. They spin it halfway through the pay-per-view, and then we don't get the match until way later.
Later. Yeah, that's true. You're right.
I'm pretty sure I wrote it down because first up, our opening contest is very strange. It's Harlem Heat and the Equalizer.
Right.
Versus
so
Shockmaster and who else is it?
Charlie Norris and Ice Train.
Yeah.
So of these three wrestlers, I mean, I've seen the Shockmaster before, because the Shockmaster was a guy who famously fell through the scenery with his not Stormtrooper helmet on, full of glitter.
So now he's normal,
now he's a construction man because of reasons, and I think this is because he fell through the wall. Yeah. And so basically, all this is just a tag match. I don't think there's a particular storyline leading into this. I don't recall one. I think it's just baby faces versus heels. So Harlem Heat. They're not Booker T and Stevie Ray at this point. They're something else from something else.
It's like Cole and something. I feel bad. Kane, is that right? No, I don't know. I feel bad for not knowing the names, but I was like, it's Booker T.
Booker T and Stevie Ray. And Dave Sullivan, who is currently the Equalizer, but then will become Dave Sullivan in 1994. Kevin Sullivan's kayfabe dyslexic brother, who used to come out with a T-shirt with Evad because he couldn't spell his own name. And then the baby faces, you've got Ice Train, who I don't think's been there that long, but he was like super over.
I like Ice Train. Kind of. He's cool.
Yeah, he was a very powerful wrestler. Like he built like a brick shit house, basically. Looked like really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Charlie Norris, I think, was quite recent. He was like strange enough, a Native American wrestler with a Native American gimmick. Who would have thought they could actually find Native American wrestlers?
Gimmicks? And they weren't being weird about it. Like they probably would have been on WWF at the time. Like Jerry Lawler would have been like his eyes light up as soon as he sees them. Although they did make some casino jokes, I believe, but I blame Jesse.
I mean, it's 93, isn't it? Of its time. So all this match was just babyface versus heels, and it was interesting to see Booker T as a heel.
Yeah, it was interesting to see like proto Booker T as well, like still figuring out like what he was gonna do, and like because he kind of had like no character, like those guys. They were just like, oh well, these guys are good wrestlers, I guess. That was all I picked up from them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem that they'd been around, I think a year or two by this point, but I think the problem was before that it was just like the Steiner brothers.
Yeah,
they were the shit, and they got the pushes, they got overall. And then at this point, I think the Steiners are either in Japan or WWF at this time, so that's why they're not there. So the tag teams in WCW at this point aren't great. I think they're probably you've got the Nasty Boys and you've got them, and you've got like off that. That's kind of it. So it's nice to see them get a little bit of time on a pay-per-view and actually show a bit of... But the match itself was very...
Because like the Equalizer and the Shockmaster are like super sloppy like throughout.
Terrible.
And a bunch of times they get in the ring by themselves and was supposed to be like, oh, it's the two giant guys, but they just kind of like stumble around and do like bad clotheslines.
And I like big guys. Bam Bam Bigelow and all that lot. But when they just punch, kicky, elbow, and then a shit headbutt. And that's all they're doing. They've got no character behind it.
And they're on the same card as Vader, who is like one of the best big men in the business. But yeah, like I wrote down that I really liked Booker T's like, big martial arts kicks. He did like an awesome, like a proto version of his like axe kick, but he did like more spins, and I was like, oh, that's impressive. But like they kept on getting like the hot tag to Shockmaster, and the crowd was into it. They wanted to see him run around.
Yeah, like that's the thing I wrote. Like the match isn't actually that good, but the crowd are well into it.
Yeah,
they're cheering everybody. They're cheering all of the baby faces when they get in. They're booing all of the they come, and it's just weird. Like that, it's something that is just so bang average, below average, I'd say.
Yeah,
just gets everybody like proper G'd up. It's just so weird. This isn't good. Why are we clapping this? But I think it just shows how over the like people like the Ice Train and Shockmaster were, despite them falling over.
That's what I genuinely enjoy about watching WCW. I feel like the crowd loves it in a kind of way where they're like you know, WWF is too big, like it's too broad, and like there's no like audience connection. This feels like close in a way that I can't quite explain, but like the fans feel like they love the wrestlers or hate the wrestlers, and you get to see a lot of them. But I feel like in WWF everything's like one step pushed away from the ring, and like everyone's
I get what you mean.
You know, they want to keep it as like, oh, this is our television stars, we don't mix with the people. Whereas WCW is more like, there's like a weird guy in the crowd, let's show him on camera.
I think my inkling on that, my theory is that WCW still felt like a bit of a territory show.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of the southern territories, a lot of their so like Florida and Georgia was kind of all mixed and wrapped up into there. So I don't know if the WCW attracted those crowds, so once the territories had disappeared and kind of fallen by the wayside, the ones that were left behind went to WCW because they were based in Georgia, I think.
Yeah,
and then like WWF was Connecticut.
They used to like record in the did they used to record in like one of the Universal Studios back?
Yeah, they did. It was for the WCW Saturday nights. I think they used to do it at Universal Studios.
So like NXT, they had like a local scene because they'd be like, oh, everyone goes here on a Saturday sort of thing. We have a good time, you know, it's on TV, it's great. So like, yeah, I guess they were trying to cultivate like a more local atmosphere, which, like I say, it shines through. It's one of the things that's like good about it. It just feels a little bit more like you know, watching indie wrestling. I think that's kind of what gets me hooked. Unfortunately, this is kind of like the first in a sort of a theme of kind of, I wouldn't say like botched finishes, but like sort of unsatisfying finishes. Over the night.
This pay-per-view is full of not dusty finishes, but finishes that are not clean. And or like feel unsatisfied.
Because like the Shockmaster's finisher, I guess, is like a bear hug slam, and it kind of like, it doesn't look like, is Booker T too tall?
It looks shite. Yeah. Just say it, Jake. It's a shite finisher. It only looks good on small.
Yes,
like,
I think that was it, because I think his legs hit the floor first, and then he just sort of like falls on top of him, and I'm like, it kind of looked like an accident. But if he'd like maybe like spun it round into like a belly to belly suplex, I think that would have worked great.
Jake, this is the Shockmaster I talked about. This is Tugboat. I don't think he was into doing, you know, suplexy proper stuff. But no, I think on Booker T that didn't look good. If he was chucking someone like who was a smaller guy who was in at the time, Kevin Sullivan, I'll just go ahead because it looks like a gnome. And is the smallest bloke there, probably. It would have looked more devastating. But you're right, Booker T's rangy and tall.
It's the legs, isn't it? He's got like super long legs. Yes,
massive long legs, Booker T. So it didn't quite look great. But again, the crowd were like, fucking get in! Probably also, well into it.
If you're like not a WCW regular watcher, they have much faster counts than WWF. Like, I feel like WWF have got that cadence of like 1, 2, 3, whereas like WCW can just be anything and suddenly the match is over.
Nick Patrick fell over and hit his hand 3 times. Okay. The other complaint about this pay-per-view a little bit, apart from a couple of the matches, is that they have a habit at WCW of not quite setting up the matches. So there's before this match there was no like little package about a story or anything like that.
No, they just showed up.
I think what WWF did really well, they had a bit more of that kind of production behind it, which, you know, helped sell it a little bit more. Whereas this was just a really cool match. Chuck 3 heels, chuck 3 baby faces in, bish bash bosh. And I get it, it's there to get the baby face.
It's like, yeah, it's like the opener, like nothing too complicated.
yeah. Let's ease them in, everybody. Let's ease them in.
Yeah, I did actually appreciate the lack of like stupid backstage segments though. Like, you know, like when we were watching SummerSlam, it felt like, oh, things are interrupting us all the time. This was just like, you know, match, like weird thing happening. Like
I think WCW did more of the weird promo-y stuff on their TV program. And like Clash of the Champions and stuff more than they did on their pay-per-views, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, you're right. Like there's less of that.
We're keeping it business. But no, it was fun to see those guys. I did not sort of realize Shockmaster kept on going after his like debut.
He wasn't there long though, I don't think. But I don't think he was there very long.
You got to have some fun. He was definitely, you could tell he was like smiling and stuff. Like he enjoyed the crowd, was like going wild for him. And that outfit's got to be a lot more comfortable than the Shockmaster.
I disagree. I think the fur coat with the leathery, with a glittery Stormtrooper helmet would have went down a treat in the ring. Never would have fell off
the ring
or injured anybody. Imagine him running out with that on, and then having to like give his finisher to somebody with that on.
Twist it, fix it.
Nonsense, absolute nonsense.
Okay, so this next one is it? Oh yeah, it's Orndorff and Assassin #1.
Oh, the Assassin, a man who was still wearing the mask from his 20s in his 60s.
Is that what happened to him? Because I was like,
I think he just got fat.
I was like, is this just a guy who like they shoved a mask on to be like, you're the assassin now? So he was an actual.
The assassin was legit, and he was like a legit big heel back in, I'm going to say probably the 70s or maybe even later.
Yeah.
I don't know what his name was, but I know he was a king. And then I don't know why they brought him back. I just assume he wanted to have a bit of time.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I think it's just his old mask, but he's got so fat. He can't wear it really well anymore. He looks like a baby stuck on a lift.
It's just a regular black luchador mask, but he just wears like a grey suit, like, you know, like a Southern gentleman suit.
Strange.
It's very odd.
And he's just face is like this. You can see like the skin under his eye, like puffing out the. It looks horrendous. It looks so bad.
And then Paul Orndorff is just an angry dad.
just looks like Nick Nolte to me. Yeah. Nick Nolte with no lips. I actually quite enjoyed this match because I love Ricky Steamboat's fantastic. And this was like again a classic babyface versus heel kind of match. You knew exactly who the bad guy was. I think they mentioned before the match that this wasn't the original match that was planned. Somebody else, I can't remember who it was, but they got injured, so they had to swap out.
So Ricky was always going to be on the pay-per-view, but this Mr. Wonderful was picking up a shift.
Yeah. So I also enjoyed Jesse by calling him slim and in shape. Oh. By ripping the piss out of him, and I also love Ricky Steamboat's outfit in fire breathing. I think fabulous.
It's perfect for Halloween Havoc as well, with the fireballs and the dragon wings. It was just like it was beautiful. So yeah, like I definitely wrote down this was the angry dad match because it became a proper like sweaty like like two old guys.
A lot of jaw jacking to the ref, and the reason I really enjoyed it was because you've got two blokes who are really good at their jobs, know exactly what their characters are. Yeah, one's a bit more brawly, one is a more of a high flyer, slightly more technical kind of wrestler. And what I did like was Ricky Steamboat getting a bit heelish.
Yes, that was interesting.
I thought that was really interesting, yeah.
I wrote down as well, this was a masterlock. Not that. This was a master class in the hammerlock, because they they use like every variation and like how you would like spin out but then spin it back in and everything. It was beautiful. And
I did like the fact that Steamboat was keeping Orndorff, like I said, through Havoc, keeping him grounded, because Orndorff will just punch the shit out of you and just hammer you with fists or whatever.
Yeah.
And the fact that he wasn't trying to do his high flying stuff as much because, you know, Orndorff would just punch him in the face or would just grab him or would do whatever.
Yeah.
He's keeping him on the ground. He's keeping the weight on his limbs or whatever. And even like the bit where he threw him into the pool when the ref wasn't looking, which was a very non-Steamboat.
Yeah.
And it was just really interesting to watch.
It was almost like
throw him into the railings and everything.
It was like he was working heel, because he was like working over body parts as well. So you were kind of getting like a couple of times this happened tonight. Actually, I noted it where the heel was getting like the body part worked on. I'm like, this is kind of backwards to what I'm used to. But yeah, I think this was like they definitely were trying to tell like a frustration, like a Ricky's sort of frustration coming through. I don't know if it was just like general stuff, because he had lost his TV title, I think, hadn't he? I think we
so,
watched that where Regal beat him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So this is almost like he's come back on pay-per-view after that.
It's kind of like they're trying to do a thing where it's like he's struggling to like find his footing in WCW, so he's turning to heel moves.
The dark side.
But yeah, Orndorff definitely tries to like use the ropes, and the ref like kicks him off. Did you notice he had like his
kicks his feet like kicks his hands out 6 times or whatever.
Yeah, it was so weird. And then he gets like a really slow roll up, and they kind of flop around on the floor a bit. They looked very tired at a certain point.
They were very, very warm. I mean, there were points. There were points where it was a bit slow, but I think the build worked. So yes, it was kind of they felt each other out for a little bit, and then the last sort of 5 minutes, they really like built in the drama and the kickouts and the, a bit more the high flying stuff, the dirty stuff, and then this
the loaded mask.
So the assassin gets something out of his pocket or whatever, and then shoves it in the top of his mask here, but the cameraman misses it. So all you see is him doing this, and then it goes round the back of the assassin, and then he's just seeing him do that, and you think, what the fuck's he done? And then he nuts Steamboat, who goes down in the back of and Orndorff wins. But then it's almost like Ventura and Schiavone have to then explain, oh my god, he's put something in. What did he put in? And it's done their job properly on the cameras. He wouldn't have to explain this. WCW.
And like, I think there's a couple of times tonight where they do the foreign object bit, and they don't clearly show you what it is. And I know that's like part of it, because he's like, well, the guy wants to hide it from the ref. But at the same time, it kind of makes you confused as to like what's so dangerous about it. But
he's just a fat man who went.
I think a headbutt to the back of the head would work either way, whether it's loaded or not. But this causes the count out victory, I think. Which again is an odd choice for like Halloween Havoc pay-per-view to be like, we're gonna have a nice old-fashioned count out. Like.
I mean, WCW were quite notorious for rough decision making, I think. I mean, I know WWF definitely had their own fair share of DQ finishes and schmozzes and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was usually like they like to lean on interference a lot, didn't they? Like, where it was like some crazy guys just like ran in and ruined everything.
But then what they would then usually do is use that to build into something else, whereas WCW didn't, or they did, but it was like something that you'd done like 4 weeks earlier, so it just felt like it was going in circles.
Yeah, it was like, oh, he's just remembered like a month earlier that he did this, and now he's really mad about it.
But I think the ending did put a little bit of a damn. I'm curious if the original person who was meant to wrestle, not Paul Orndorff, the other one, if it was the same finish, if Steamboat would have lost.
Oh, well, that's true, actually, because you wouldn't have had the assassin, maybe.
No, so, I mean, maybe Steamboat would have lost, but it would have been in a different fashion. It might still have been a count out, but it might have been in a different way. So, I mean, generally, though, I did enjoy the match. I thought it was just a solid match between two blokes who kind of knew their craft and were really, really good in the ring.
I feel like if the manager interferes, it should be in service of, like, getting him to the baddie's finisher, rather than like just a flop, like, a no contest thing. Because like if he'd like hit him in the back of the head and then got him, like rolled him in the ring, then Orndorff hit his finisher, then I'd be like, oh well, he got worked,
Yeah. See, why weren't you booking in WCW in 1993? That would have been more sense. Probably been more exciting.
I would have been in the General Custer outfit.
No, I think you would have been Colonel Robert Park. I will get to him later.
Oh, he's great. Okay, and then this next match, it's we've accidentally followed the Bulldog from last year to this year.
Yeah. This is not a Bulldog traipsing stream. We're not going to do every single pay-per-view that contains British Bulldog, but
6 degrees of Davy Boy Smith.
The WW World Champion Heavyweight World Championship Heavyweight Champion. Thank you.
Is he on the level of Sandman for trying to say things?
So, do you know how you messaged me about this, watching this match? I said, it was there a promo afterwards. The promo, I think, was in one of the clashes, either before or after this pay-per-view, where Davey Boy has a match, and he does a little promo after the match, and he can't get his words out. I think he says, I'm coming to be the WCW World Heavyweight Championship Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah.
And it's just, you can see his head's like, what am I saying? But he's still speaking. And it's just like, he farts in his own brain.
Like when you're in like a work meeting and your brain just like ticks over, gets distracted for a second, and you're like, oh no, I'm mid-sentence, I've got to finish now.
Yeah, exactly. And that is Davey Boy's promos most of the time. He had some cracking ones in 97, but I think he really struggled with.
Yeah, so the Bulldog is facing Lord Steven Regal. It's the Battle of Britain, as they call it. This is officially the Battle of Britain for any history buffs out there.
It's the poor posh man versus the common man.
Which I absolutely love, because really they're roughly from the same area in England.
I think you're right. I mean, Regal's from Stoke originally, and then wrestled in Blackpool, and then Davey Boy's from Manchester way or something.
And I think like Regal is just like working class as they come, really. Like when he started out, he didn't have like, it's not as if he's not really.
He worked in like fairs and like got paid to beat people up.
He's a real
he's
carny.
Not a classy man. Yeah, proper. If anyone's a proper carny, he is.
Yeah, Chad saying in the chat, the Battle of Lancashire. That would have been a more accurate name. What I loved was they announced Regal as weighing 18 stone 2 pounds, which I love when they give people special intros, because you're like, it just makes your imagination be like, well, Regal, he like told them to say that because he was like, you're not bloody announcing me in pounds.
A little urchin, give me the British Standard Imperial measurement.
And they do something absolutely hilarious, which I've never seen before, but Regal's like, just too good at this thing. But he's like, when he locks up with Bulldog, he notices he's got grease on him, and he's like,
and he goes to the ref, he's like, look at this thing. Sweaty
so
bastard.
funny.
I did another thing before we get to the actual match, the bit I really like is Jesse saying, Davey's the common man alongside such and such, and Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, just anything that can think of for me.
It's just nonsense. And I didn't realise just again how over he was. Like, I don't think he'd had that many matches at this point, but clearly the people there had watched him in WWF and were like, wow, this big WWF guy's there. And he looks very swole. Swole in this one.
But he looks like, I mean, he's always looked super colourful and exciting. So I can tell why the crowd and like kids are into it. But yeah, like they actually have 2 different English songs, because they've both got like classical music English songs, but they are different. Luckily,
got more than 2 songs in England. It's fine. It's all good.
But like again though, this match was actually like super impressive. Like this is like had the highest sort of level of technical wrestling.
Absolutely.
As the
the beginning bit was almost like World of Sport-esque. It was like proper old 80s, 70s British wrestling of all like the wrist locks and the flips and getting out of it and on the mat and all that sort of shit. was.
Yeah, so like Bulldog can still do his like luchador like roll around thing to flip out of and he was doing a lot of kip ups to like flip out of the wrist lock. But they did like every variation of it, like, Baddie's got it on, then it gets reversed onto him and twists back and twists this way. It's like it was just really good to watch though, because they were going like hold for hold, so like they were like one guy was doing it, then it was like switching up and Bulldog was putting it on, and then it was like swing around like Regal into a dirty headlock, and it was just like like it was proper British wrestling. And I kind of hope that they like had a chat before and they're like, should we go like British style, and they're like,
aye. We'll the sports style, we'll do that, lads. Yes, thank you. That's another thing I think WCW had better at this point than WWF. Like WWF had some good wrestlers, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, probably two of the most best technical wrestlers. Bret Hart certainly, but then you had some real shite in there who just didn't do that sort of stuff. Whereas I think in WCW you definitely had the more technical wrestlers. You had people like Regal. You had people like I would say Steamboat and that sort of ilk or technical wrestlers.
And like and down the line we got like the Dean Malenkos and like Jerichos and everything. So they definitely tried to lean into that as a strength. I guess this was them still kind of figuring that out. Bulldog.
I did as well. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say that another bit I enjoyed was the cartwheel. So Davey Boy Smith did a cartwheel, and then Real went, "What the bloody hell was that?" And then did his own, and was like,
but like as if he'd never
with himself.
But like but it's like at first you're like, it's as if he's never seen one. It's too uncouth.
This common man who does a cartwheel.
The chat's debating origins of the Davey Boy, so we've got Stoke, Lancaster, Golborne, Wigan.
I think he's from Golborne, but they never ever said Manchester.
Oh yeah.
And then sometimes on other stuff they would say like Leeds or something like that as well.
Was that when he changed to jeans and boots when he was
I don't know. His dad's when he came back as dad. Yeah.
And he had the horrible music with the dogs barking.
Oh God. The dark 1999 days. But I love the surfboard bit as well.
I wrote that down as well. Beautiful surfboard stretch.
If you think as well, Regal is not small.
No.
He is broad, and to get him like properly into it and pull him all the way up is proper impressive shit for blokes of that size. Yeah. Like it's cool when smaller, more athletic wrestlers do it. Like a Shawn Michaels or a Rey Mysterio or whatever. Mm-hmm. But when you got two lads who are fucking wide as tanks doing that to each other, very impressive.
And it's another move that like it's still used today, but only like very select people like Bryan Danielson and stuff will pull it out like every now and then. But it's just a classic. It doesn't make any sense. It's like it doesn't particularly look like it hurts. It's just a cool thing that humans can do with the body, and it's just like that's what wrestling's all about, really. Like you just do a cool thing. It doesn't always have to make like total logical sense, like how this happens. But yeah, I pop big for that. There was also Regal hit like a really nice senton that they called the Regal roll.
Oh yes,
just his running like senton flip
and stuff like that.
The Regal roll. And I wrote down as well. Sorry.
Yeah.
No,
you go first. You in flow, Jake. You're in flow.
I wrote down that Regal calls the ref a swine at some point. You swine.
He did say, I can't remember he said it to Davey Boy or to the ref. I think he said, "Come on, you bloody heathen." At one point as well. It's just Regal was so good and so grossly underappreciated at the time.
I think it was when he was like I think it was just when he was like roughing him up on the floor, like doing like some like painful looking holes. He was like wanting him to tap out. I think I did hear.
Come on, you bloody heathen. Another thing I will say about them is they both sold really well for each other. They both made each other look fucking good.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see matches where, but you always have a winner or loser unless you have a dusty finish or a draw, like we had a match at Count Out or whatever. Where both lads get their stuff in, make each other look good, and then even in a loss, the other guy still looks like he could have won, if that makes sense.
Because Regal goes to time with his cleverness, because he wastes a little bit of time, and then Bulldog hits a big old dirty pile driver on him, but it's like 1 second too late. They actually time it perfectly, you know, like we were saying, like, oh, there's a few like sort of dodgy finishes. Fair enough, there's a little bit of unnatural like hanging around to like waste a few seconds, but the actual count, like, you know, the 2 count comes down when the 1 count like finishes, and it's like when the match times out, and it's like, no, he was literally a second away, and it's just really good.
And you've got to give that to Randy Anderson, who did the perfect jump over the wrestler to then land, and then do his 1, 2, 3, which I loved about.
Yeah, it was like I said, a little bit forced, but it was like they hit the time perfectly on like what they needed to do, so I'm happy.
Yeah. And
again, I was angry. Like, I was like,
And these are the matches where, because Regal did a few time limit draw matches where he would take it all the way. I think he did one against Brian Pillman, maybe, as well. And I like them because I know he still holds the title, and that's fine, but it's almost like a showcase for the other wrestler almost to get themselves over. And yes, they might not beat Regal, but they'll come out of it looking like a mega. Davey Boy Smith did. Johnny B. Bad, I think, had a one with him as well. And Brian Pillman. But they were all like legitimately matches. I just think, I don't care that nobody technically won.
Yeah.
It was just 15 minutes of actual good shit.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I watched it.
And it's one of those weird things where, because it's the television title that's on the line, it has like a different time limit, because that's obviously like the time between the ad breaks. I just like the little world they've brought, like, you know, the sprinkle like little bits in where it's like, oh, well, you know, if you take it all at face value and try and apply like, you know, logic to it, it doesn't make sense. But in the world of WCW, I'm bought in. I'm like, that makes sense. Television title has, you know, slightly different rules and stuff like that. the Turner Broadcast Network title. But yeah, that was great. Okay, so this is where the wheel is spun, because I wrote down
spinny wheel.
So yeah, General Custer, Eric Bischoff is there. He surprisingly doesn't take a lot of screen time tonight, because
this is before his ego was widely pumped up by Hogan, and he was starting to cling onto his like a limpet on a wheel's arse.
Yeah, like Hogan encouraged him. He fell in with a bad crowd.
So I think this is when he was still sort of, I don't know if he was a producer at this point, or if he was still just the sort of talent that did some of the stuff in the background. But yeah, he's a bit more kind of toned down, and
he's only in about 2-3 segments tops. I think he does like one interview later. But no, this is him, and, you know, Vader comes in to spin the wheel. I'm gonna do an impression of Vader. What? You want to do one?
No. All I will say that I did write down that he looks like a sweaty bison.
A sweaty bison.
He's just like this big thing. It does this.
That is one excellent thing about WCW. They'll put the camera mic in the wrestlers' faces for the entrances, so they can come in and be like, you know, like, it's, you know, like Vader's just like, it's time and all that stuff, and the Nasty Boy's like, you know, twice as nasty. And like you get the little catchphrases like in the camera. But yeah, I did some research and tried to find out what was on this wheel and stuff. So hang on, I've got to.
So there was a couple. So the one, the coal miners glove match. So that was the one that had in Halloween 1992.
Okay.
And that was between Jake the Snake and Sting.
Yeah.
And it's basically, it's a glove on a pole.
Is the glove evil?
No, and if you get the glove and you basically would knock them out, because it's a glove, it's you know,
heavy.
But the problem with that was, like, it was quite a regional thing, apparently. Like, it was only known in certain wrestling territories. So then this time round, they thought, we'll actually do something that people have heard of. But I noticed the Prince of Darkness match, which I'd never noticed before, and I've never heard of, but you told me what it meant, and I really want to see one of them.
I think, like, Jake the Snake had a match like that once. So it wasn't like Prince of Darkness, but it was it was like blindfolded, and he had to like listen for his opponent and stuff. So it can be done well, but you need someone as good as like Jake the Snake to pull it off, I think.
Yeah.
But this is what we had on the spin the wheel to make a deal wheel, which I thought would have a more Halloween name, but it's all right. Apparently, so there was a Russian chain match, which is joined by the wrists by a chain, touch all the four corner posts, which I've never really enjoyed that much.
It's like a strap match, basically.
Yeah, with a chain, so more dangerous, more
chain
Russian.
Ooh.
A dog collar match, and this is just joined by the chain again, but to the necks this time, and that's just pinfall. That had an I Quit match on there, which is just a hardcore match where you have to give up. Yeah, the coal miner's glove match. It's a steel-plated glove atop a pole.
That's it.
So,
It looked shit as well. I watched Halloween Havoc a couple of years ago, maybe 18 months ago, and even the glove looked a bit. It's just a glove on the end of a pole.
Love the glove. So this one would have actually been hilarious just because of the chaos, but a lumberjack with belts match, or like, so the ring surrounded by wrestlers wielding leather straps to keep the competitors in the ring. Can you imagine?
Trying to keep Vader and Cactus Jack in the ring, it's not gonna happen.
Just everyone whipping Vader to get back in the ring. Would he be like a sad like farm animal, like?
I fucking punched the lights out. That's probably why they didn't do that one.
Barbed wire match, which was barbed wire ropes.
I would have loved that.
That would have been awful, because you know how bad they are with ropes. Classic cage match, which, you know, Yeah, so the Prince of Darkness match, which is a very elaborate name for both men are rendered blind by hoods covering their heads, which with these two would have been almost a death sentence, I feel like.
Just be fists wailing around, probably. God.
The Texas death match, which we'll get to that. First Blood was on here, but that would have been over in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, you can't have a First Blood match with them to either, because you're right.
Texas bull rope match, which I feel is just Russian chain match again.
But with a rope, yep.
Just joined by a bull rope. And Spinner's Choice, which I think would have been funny, because that's like Vader would get to pick the match.
I don't think they would have done the coal miner's glove match, because no offense, but Cactus Jack and Vader are not two men that can climb high places to the end of a pole.
The pole's too high, damn it.
Yeah. It was actually, if you go back and watch the 92, it was quite high up. It did struggle to actually reach it. And if you think Jake the Snake was like, I can't imagine these two guys would have had much luck trying to reach it.
He spins the wheel, the fireworks shoot out of it, you know, like sparklers, fireworks, it blows up and everything. We land, the knife lands on the Texas death match. The
knife which I think it was clearly rigged. The way that it slowed down, but then went at the same pace until it got to the right one. I did enjoy Harley Race's as well after his death match. And I did write down, and I've mentioned this in me watch some stuff. Harley Race looks like a National Express bus driver from 1980. He looks like he smokes menthols and really likes salt and vinegar. Just the way that he's dressed in his jacket and everything.
Oh, he looks like greasy and stuff, but he's having such a good time though. Like he's smiling from ear to ear for most of this.
Yeah.
Vader's pumped about the Texas death match. They don't really say anything about what it is yet, other than it's a death match. Because in recent times, like, the way they've denoted it's a Texas death match is by the wrestlers wearing like street clothes, like having jeans on and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's Texas death matches are weird because they didn't seem to be on that much at this time, but they used to be quite frequent in sort of the 70s and 80s in some of the territories.
I think they used to be used as like the loser leaves town as well. It was like they would have a Texas death match and the loser got like kicked out of like the promotion for a little while.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not what we got tonight. But we'll get to it later because that's its whole own big old mess.
Yeah.
Because right now we got to have stunning Steve Austin versus the natural Dustin Rhodes.
Woo! I hate Dustin Rhodes' music in this.
Yeah, it's proper like, it's kind of like, oh, he's a cowboy, but it's kind of trying to be like his dad's music, but like cowboy themed, you know.
It's just cheesy. I can smell it. Just whiffs compared to Steve Austin's, which is really gnarly guitars and stuff.
Yeah, Austin's a big fan of like rock and metal though, so he's probably like, no, make my song cooler.
Yeah.
Austin's in his outfit's awesome tonight though. It's like red and black, like with the Texas stars on and stuff, and I'm like, hell yeah, he's got a look. His hair is going though.
The problem with Austin's hair, it's clearly was in great condition in terms of it looked well maintained and conditioned. He clearly washed it, but it was very wispy, and he's so blonde that when you start thinning and you're that blonde, it's gonna show quite easily.
And I think he'd shave the sides off as well, which makes it kind of like that loses even more volume.
Yeah. So interestingly, because I've just recently watched a Clash from 1994. He started growing it out in 94. I'm like, Steve, you should have just shaved it off in 94. But no, he tried to cling on a little bit longer, and I get it because, you know, the Hollywood Blondes thing. I know he wasn't in the tag team at this point or by this point.
Yeah.
But it was still kind of, he was known as Stunning Steve, and if you're called Stunning, you're probably not going to be bold, I think, was WCW's approach. Maybe you have.
They were trying to like move it over to like, oh, his move's called the stun gun, everybody. You know, like it's that's but yeah, these guys have a pretty good match. It's a lot faster than anything else that we've seen on the card so far.
Yes.
Like fast paced. I do like Dustin's cowboy wrestling boots because that's a very silly idea.
Yeah, do you know what? I really like wrestling cowboy boots. I do respect that. It's difficult.
I imagine, but he pulls it off. Dustin's weird because I feel like they've never really known what to do with him because his dad's such like a massive presence in wrestling. So I really feel for him because I think Cody's like finally carved himself out a niche, and obviously like Dustin had Goldust and stuff, but I feel like he had a much harder path to anything, like any kind of recognition.
And I think as well his dad pushed him early, and I think that possibly caused a little bit of bad
calling him the natural as well is a bit of a it's a hard act, like, you know, a hard name to follow, like, oh yeah, you're the natural, which means you have to be the best wrestler on the promotion. He's like, uh-oh. That's a lot.
And that pressure. And I mean, I always think, you know, I think Dusty Rhodes had the same. They both got very sad eyes. They always look like they're on the verge of bursting into crying.
Yeah,
and I think Dustin Rhodes, even when he wasn't going to do that, looked like he was a bit cried.
Yeah, they do use the emotion quite well with them, though. You're right, though. Cody doesn't really have that. You know, you can see like he skipped that part.
He's like strong-jawed, like classic kind of look, whereas, you know, Dustin and Dusty are that sort of slightly more hangdog, emotionally sort of where's the heart on their face, basically. But I think Dustin Rhodes is a good wrestler. He's just I always found him difficult to connect with at this point. I think Goldust was a really interesting gimmick, and I think he did really well with that gimmick as well, because it gave him something to really dig into. Whereas here he's just like, you're Dustin Rhodes, you're Dusty Rhodes' son. There's a lot of expectation. You just go out there and wrestle. I don't think a lot of meat on that bone to chew on, really.
Yeah, and you don't really see him on the mic too often, and like Dusty was a big talker. So and now that we've obviously seen his entire career, we know he can talk. He's great. Like, you know, he can get intense, he can be funny, you know, like he's got range and stuff. It's funny as well. I was just chatting to some people in the Discord because they were like catching up on modern stuff, and obviously Cody's literally just been betrayed by evil John Cena.
Spoilers.
But it's like,
Yeah.
like how that's the thing you don't get in wrestling. Like Cody, a current like megastar's family is wrestling now in the stuff we're watching, and I know it doesn't really come up that often. Like, you know, no one's going to be talking about Halloween Havoc, like, you know, like referencing
Yeah.
it, but the fact that there is that history for wrestling fans where you can be like, oh yeah, I saw Cody's brother wrestle like Stone Cold Steve Austin, like, and you know, Steve Austin's hinted that he might come into Cody's corner, and it's like, here he is wrestling his like older brother. He obviously hung around with his dad, and it's just like, it's this weird like interconnected like storytelling that just doesn't happen in anything else really. Except like, I guess, real sports where people's sons and stuff come in, but it's funny. It's an interesting one. But yeah, I did like this match. One thing distracted me though, because the commentators started talking about how Dustin was going to be on the wrestlers hotline taking your calls after this match.
The wrestling hotline.
You just have to talk to like slightly out of breath like Dustin. Like
the wrestling hotline was the biggest swizz, weren't they? Like, I mean, however many pennies a minute or pound dollars a minute or whatever to just listen to some man pant because he's just had a wrestling man. Yeah, did really, brother, or whatever. And
there's some great clips of like Shawn Michaels when they were like, oh, Shawn Michaels is gonna be like web chatting with you in the World Wide Web, and he's just like pretending to use the computer. Like, there's no way he was typing back to you in the web
Absolutely
chat.
Not. Absolutely not. My main gripe about this match, you know, I don't think it was as good as the previous match.
It was another work the knee match. Austin got his knee worked over for most of it.
It felt it was solid. It was solid, but there was nothing in it that made us go wow, or like, you know, made us feel much more than good. That's just, you know, two lads who are, I know they're good. No, that's canny. It's not bad. It was kind of I hate the finish though.
I was gonna say, I noted down that Austin threw the middle finger, so it's like he's finding his gimmick and stuff like that. But yeah, it was like they kind of like messed about, and like again, the heel was getting the knee worked over, so they were doing a lot of like, you know, like knee breakers and stuff. But yeah, again, it was another dirty pin attempt blocked by the referee that turned into a roll up.
Fucking hell! And it made
it was a slow roll up as well. Like, it wasn't one of those like fast, exciting ones. It was like a very like almost got you.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't. Since I've watched a few clashes and watched this in a couple of pay-per-views.
Yes.
Obviously, Steve Austin had the title for a bit, TV title, and he had the American title as well. But then at this point, I don't know if they know what they want to do with him, and I think in '94 quite similar.
Yeah.
Same with Dustin Rhodes. I think the two of them in 1994 kind of drift a little bit, and they're just sort of bobbing around, and they don't really get any pushes or anything particular. It doesn't surprise us that come like 95, 96.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad because like they both like clearly have the skills to be like world champion level. But it's almost as if WCW is being like, well, we have these older guys who are more established, so they get to be in the title matches, you know, like the big ones.
Yeah, I think as soon as Hogan came in, I think these two would never have
saw
had a
the
chance.
writing on the wall.
Yeah, because you know, he brought all his mates in. He brought in Brutus the Barber Beefcake and that sort of lot, and you still had Flair then, and obviously Sting was super over. So they were going to keep pushing him.
Yeah.
So
they missed a trick though, because like, you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Hogan would have been like a money printer basically.
Yeah.
There's a few kind of combos of guys that just never got to get together. Same with like they've always said about Undertaker and Sting, like how they would have been. Not saying it would have been the best match ever, but it's just the thought of like the two guys like that, like having a
they should have both kept their dusters on as well while they wrestle.
Just loads of like
just
clockwork.
swifts of jackets, yeah.
So yeah, I think Dustin won this, didn't he? Yeah, I feel like.
So Dustin won with the roll up.
Yeah,
and I just felt it was a finish because it made Steve look like an idiot, and it didn't make Dustin look strong.
Nah,
because he had to win by distraction and then a shitty roll up. So it was a good, decent enough, solid little match. But I just don't really get what they're trying to do with the ending.
Yeah, they were.
I'm assuming they're just further on the feud, but it would just fun.
So next we get a big old tag team again.
Yes,
with just Too Cold Scorpio. It was good.
Want to say, love Scorpio's music.
Yep.
On par with Rick Rude.
You don't like Bagwell though, do you? He's a shithead in this match. Like,
I've got nothing against Buff Bagwell. You know, he made a career and he did Read from a Cell and all that.
Yeah.
I just didn't ever connect with his work in the ring, and to be fair, he was a good heel because he came across as a sufferer and a real jock.
Yeah.
In one of them, real twatty, handsome little, kind of goofy twat heads.
Yeah, definitely.
That, in that sense, he did his job really well. Mm-hmm. And that I liked to get beat up and lose.
Yeah.
But I just never felt like I wanted to actively Bagwell.
No, and then later on he started wearing like silly hats and stuff and being more like leather daddy looking and stuff, and it got weird. Like,
I mean, a lot of late 90s wrestling, there was a lot of leather daddy, and there was in the late 80s Demolition like leather, a bit leather daddy, and then it sort of tailed off, and then it started increasing again. So by the end of the 90s, you had Buff Bagwell leather daddy, you had Steiner got a little bit leather daddy and big pop-up pump and
Alex
all that.
Wright.
And then Alex Wright with his Berlin gimmick, yes. And then you had Alba in SmackDown with his weird sort of piercings and
full on. Yep. And
there's a lot of leather daddy.
And all like tests and stuff were very like
Viscera. He had his looked like he was in a Timberland video and all that sort of thing.
Big Vis. But yeah, so this is like good guy team versus the Nasty Boys and Missy Hyatt. Yeah, and this is where they're like twice as nasty, coming in. Yeah. So they have a little bit of a recap for this one because they're telling us it's the thing I don't like so much in wrestling though, where they're like, this team has beat them like 3 times on television recently, so we're doing it again. I'm like, all right. So like, luckily I haven't seen the match like 4 times over, but some people in this crowd have seen this match 4 times.
I mean,
unless something's changing, like every time, I kind of
It depends on the finishes, and it depends on how they built it. So I know the last time it was Scorpio and Bagwell that took the titles off the Nasty Boys,
sort of.
Yes, and this was the Nasty Boys then trying to get back.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that. It's simple. It's to the point. There's no like interconnected, intricate plot. It's just like, we took the title. Well, we want to back you.
You can't have
let's go and have a
intricate plot
match
with the Nasty Boys. I don't think.
No, you can't, because they don't know how to word at times. It's just Brian Knobbs just going nasty, all the time.
The 2 booger men, as I call them.
Yeah. And I did write on my notes, I usually cannot stand Bagwell, but he is actually good in this match. He does get the crowd behind him. He gets the pops when he needs to get the pops. He gets them he gets them going, he gets them clapping, and he does his job, man. And like I said, I don't connect personally with his in-ring work, but I can say, well done, Bagwell. This was a good match of yours. You did well.
Yeah. I think the Mr. Trickin they should have added more Nasty Boys over time, like as if they were just like multiplying.
What, but like the Dudleys, where they had like this Dudley after Dudley after Dudley.
You could just have like they just name them after the Battletoads and be like, it's Rash, Nasty, Pimple, and Zits coming in. But yeah, so Missy Hyatt's on full form. She's like their evil lady manager, but it doesn't seem like there's any kind of like, relationship there. She's just like a mean lady that they hang around with, and she's like the boss of them. So Buff takes this opportunity to like smooch her immediately on which gets the crowd to just be like, whoop, there it is, for like 1 minute straight.
God. The whoop, there it is, ages this horribly.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking, like, I'm just trying to read my notes. But yeah,
I did put Brian Knobbs looks like a mole with a dye job.
They are like mole, like mole. Like if you put like tiny like tiny goggles on them.
Moles.
I'm digging up your garden.
Yeah, nasty garden work. I did also put I did notice Jerry Saggs. I don't know if the camera was meant to catch this, but he did call someone in the crowd a fuckwit.
I didn't catch that. That's awesome.
I saw about it. Fuckwit at somebody, and you could just about hear it. And as well, I did say it was similar to the Orndorff Steamboat match.
Yeah.
Two quite different styles. This again, very different styles. You've got Nasty Boys who are just stiff brawlers, and then you've got Scorpio and Bagwell who are very much more aerial. Yeah. And, a lot of splashes.
That was going to be my move of the match was Too Cold hits both the Nasty Boys with a big splash off the top rope. And the way they hide it really well with the camera, where you don't even know he's up on the ropes, and then suddenly he just comes in and takes them both out.
Yeah.
He does it to the outside as well, like afterwards, and I'm like, oh, Too Cold's getting his paycheck tonight, doing outside splashes. It does lead to Bagwell getting one of the loudest slaps I've ever heard in wrestling.
Yeah,
that's like a gunshot.
The slap from Missy Hyatt. Yikes! That's what I put. He really got it in the foot. If she hadn't burst his eardrum there, I'd be very.
It must have been right in the camera mic as well, because it's honestly it was insane. It was one of those proper moments where you're like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, it was class. I did enjoy that, and I did rewind it
to watch it
just
again.
to make sure to watch it again.
I did
just to make sure that's what it was. That noise, that was the noise. I was like, was that his face? And then I rewound it, and fucking hell, it was his face. Well, let's go watch it again.
I did the exact same thing. He got his comeuppance for smooching there, so what goes around comes around.
Quite right.
Also, Too Cold does some beautiful those crescent kicks, those where he bounces off the ropes, then does the really high kick and then run into his knee. I'll always pop for that. Booker T used to do those also.
Scorpio was so good, man. I know obviously he's went a bit off the rails in the last couple of years, but when you watch him, he's just smooth. In ECW he was brilliant, and even in WWF when he got the shite Flash Funk gimmick and he got a bit buried in the Job Squad and stuff, he was still really fucking entertaining to watch in terms of the moves that he pulled off. And
he's very sort of maybe 10 years ago modern in the way he wrestles. If you dropped him into 2013, people would have loved him. If you just time traveled him. A very modern, or sort of, it's not modern anymore, but a more modern style than in the 90s. That's kind of when you were saying about Owen Hart as well. He was ahead of his time, so it kind of it rubbed McMahon the wrong way. I feel when people are trying to be too advanced, and he's
you can't do an Enziguri. What are you doing? Do a choke slam.
The Uranagi. It's called the rock bottom, everyone. But it turns into a big brawl, and the Nasty Boys steal it because there's dueling finishes, and everyone's falling everywhere.
Yeah, I did put there's a lot of nonsense hijinks. The ref not spotting tags due to interference and all this sort of stuff.
Sorry, I forgot.
He hits him with a boot, yeah. So it won. Jerry Saggs bopped Scorpio on the head with a boot. Which is very much a heel move there.
It does more damage if it's not on your foot, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah, you've got to get the real power behind it, but you must move it and use your hand.
Everyone knows shoes work better on the hands.
Yeah, exactly. But it was. I understood I don't like that ending because it's stupid, but I understand it because it keeps the heat on.
Yeah.
The Nasty Boys, but it also means that Bagwell and Scorpio don't look weak because they only lost because the ref was shit they cheated to win.
So our next battle is Sid Vicious versus Sting.
Yes.
And the first thing I wrote down was Sid Vicious looks absolutely massive.
Yeah,
like,
I put Sid's pot noodle hair looks very nourished.
Yeah, he looked full of like life, but his full of life is like full of like psychotic rage, like lifeblood. But he says he's gonna take Sting's soul tonight. This isn't sold out, Psycho Sid. This is Halloween Havoc. But yeah,
he also didn't fuck up any of his words in his promo either, which is good.
No. It was
well done, Sid.
It started out through gritted teeth, but then he was shouting within 5 seconds.
Yeah,
he's scary.
The thing is with Sid, you know exactly what you'll get with him. You'll get a wide-eyed, unblinking promo where he just yells and gets louder and louder. I am the ruler of the world, and then goes.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that ruler of the world thing before, but the crowd said it along with him. So, and someone had a sign, so it must be slightly getting over.
I think that was his thing at the time, that Sid was ruler of the world, big huge presence, and he was going to rule the world. He
referenced Psycho Sid as well. He was like, some people call me a psycho, and he's just because he's wrestling under Sid Vicious at the moment. Which is funny because this was the first Sid Vicious I ever heard of, and then obviously learned later about the musician.
The other one, the other guy. Well, this was Sid's. Sid had been banging around for a little bit. I don't know if he'd been to WWF and then come back again, but he'd
Psycho
got
Sid was in WWF,
pushes.
I think, for a while.
I think it was after this.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, so I think he'd been kind of pushed a bit in the early 90s, but definitely part of the Skyscrapers, I think, which were a WCW tag team. Yeah. And then I think he'd go to WWF and then come back, or did he just hang around? I can't remember, but I know he would get occasional pushes, but they wouldn't quite work out. And this was another push that was sort of working out, and then him and Arnold got in a fight in England, and someone stabbed somebody, and Sid ended up getting sacked off the back of it, and that's why he didn't really get pushed much. I didn't see much of him.
He's just living up to the gimmick. You're gonna call him Sid Vicious and Psycho Sid.
The one thing that confused me is that I don't know why Robert Parker was his manager. I don't know if I missed a run into this that explained that. Yeah. But I don't know why. Because originally Robert Parker had a bunk. I think it was the Bunkhouse stable or something. He was. So Steve Austin was his manager for a while, and then he was manager of Bunkhouse Buck, which is Robert Parker's brother or something like that. And he had some bunk stable, and I think maybe Sid was part of that, but I don't know why. But whatever. Either way,
he stabbed the rest of the bunkhouse.
I did enjoy that insane looking Sting fan.
Yes, the one who's like, Sting!
Who's the man?
And Sting's looking at him and he's like, yeah. Don't touch me.
Keep this, get the security ban on that guy. Thank you, by the way. Someone in chat said it wasn't WWF before this, it was Sid Justice. So yeah, he must have been Sid something in the early 90s in WCW, went and was Sid Justice, then came back to WCW, then went to WWF
Psycho. He became a psychopath in WCW. So I did like this match. It starts off Sting gets attacked immediately as soon as he he has a little point at the crowd, and suddenly Psycho's on him. He does a massive choke slam, because that's what he says in his promo. He says he's gonna pick him up and he's gonna choke slam him from 7 feet high or whatever. They do a bit of crowd brawling, which I was surprised to see Sid get in the crowd, because normally the giant guys sort of stay away from the crowd brawling. Because they don't want to climb over the barriers and stuff like that.
For you, I've got to say, I've got down that this is really bang average for me. This didn't tickle my pickle too much.
It's not once they slow down after the opening excitement. There's not really much to write home about. He also does this really soft chair shot on Sting. I noticed.
I wrote that Sid's chair shot was gash. That's what I wrote on my notes. I thought it was such a piss poor chair shot.
He stopped right before and sort of held it there, and then they just moved on. But then later on they were look at that welt on his back. So did Sting take a tumble on the ramp or something and scuff his back up, and they were saying it was the chair? It was a bit confusing.
What got me is obviously Sting is unbearably over. he never, at this point, he was just so for some people, he was the man. They'll never change it. And I assume, because I'd never watched it, I had, but I'd hadn't much notice of it properly because I always got bored with it. And I keep thinking to myself, Sting was a really good worker with big guys. Like, you watch his matches with Vader.
Yeah.
They were so good. And you'd think having him against another big guy whose power moves basically would work. But I think because if you compare Sid and Vader is so much more variation in his offense than Sid did. And I always found that Sting, I love Sting, it's not a bad wrestler, but I always felt that creatively Sting wouldn't usually lead his matches, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like he's more like reactionary.
Or he would let the other guy call it and he would then do his stuff in between. But when he was Vader, I think that was fine because Vader knew how to call that because Vader had been in Japan and he'd done.
Yeah.
Whereas with Sid, again, he come across as a bloke who didn't lead his matches either.
No.
So when you've got two guys who don't usually lead their matches together, and it, for me, I think they just struggle to carry each other.
Yeah.
And it struggle to make it interesting.
It felt like they had like a handful of good ideas, but then they were like, once they'd used them all up. Yeah, like they used them all up right at the start. So again, the finish was like needlessly complicated. They set it up so that the manager was interfering like a little bits in here and there. So they wanted to set it up where he would hold on to a leg, like Sting's leg, he was supposed to, but get mixed up somehow and accidentally grab Sid and sort of like not be looking, and then he's like pinned him to the floor, like helped Sting. So then Sid got mad at him, which caused the roll up to happen where Sting rolled him up. And he didn't attack his manager after though. They were it was a weird thing where it was like his manager's just really stupid and like it wasn't a betrayal. He just genuinely messed up because it was too confusing for him.
Too many legs for him to grab.
But I'm not saying it was a botch. It was an intentional it's a fun idea, but I don't think it should have been the end of a match. It's more like something you do in the middle, because I was expecting oh well, he's mad, but it's probably going to get him distracted enough for a big move to happen. But no, it was just the end.
Or if you're going to use that as the ending to a match, you can do it on a pay-per-view. Do it in a house show, or do it on a WCW Saturday night, or whatever the other random things that they had going. But it was just really, this is my least favorite finish of the night, because why is an old man with a white hat on grabbing people's feet, and he's clearly got two in his hand, and then he lets one go. They
needed like one more thing to make it believable. Like there had to be some other distraction, or change it, be like he accidentally hits him with something, because there's like a brawl around him, and he accidentally lifts it up and accidentally knocks Sid in the chin with a chair or something. If you want to do that idea, it's fine, but they just kind of they flopped it. They just made it seem like a dumbass.
The other thing that annoyed me about, complain about this a lot, bear hugs are in the bottom 3 of my favorite things in wrestling. I do not like bear hugs. They don't look good, and they go on for far too long. That went on for far too long.
It is a rest hold, for sure.
It is, but Sid and Sting are in reasonably good shape, I would say, and didn't really gas or get blown up that easily. I don't believe so, anyway.
No. I feel like Sid probably it is hard to move around for him. He had a lot of muscle on him.
He was very jacked.
Absolutely, just ginormous.
He was he was like a proper physique,
like an action figure.
An actual action figure physique. Like, it had big guys who were fat, big men, but he was like jacked big man. But he had small calves. Yeah. I always noticed that.
Is that why he had the big boots, though? Because I'm a fan of the knee-high,
I love the knee-high boots.
I think it's a good look. But maybe that was to cover up his diminished calf syndrome.
But yeah, this match was just a bit. It was all right. It had all right bits, but it didn't really do much for me.
Babyface won. Sid's too scary. Although the scary guy probably should have got a win on Halloween Havoc, but whatever. It's okay. I'm sure they'll have
the world some other time.
I'm sure they'll have another match. But we're going into a little sneak peek of Vader and Cactus Jack preparing for the match next. So you get Vader doing his shadow boxing. Interesting for Cactus Jack though, because we get some like little shades of like Mankind, really, because he's like rocking back and forth. He's like, nothing can hurt Cactus Jack. Nothing can hurt Cactus Jack.
And he's got a little bag. So the bag thing that he's got is, I think it was the one. So earlier in the year, I was going to go to this when the match, I get the match, but there's a bit that is related to some matches I had earlier in April of that year.
Yes,
which
they do roughly explain this, but go ahead.
Yeah, so that little bag, I think, if I remember rightly from reading the book or whatever, or Mick Foley's biography, I'm sure it had his teeth in it. Right. Or something in it that was like his and special to him, and then part of the angle was Vader stole that sort of thing. And that's why he's got it, and that it's his little keepsake sort of thing.
I think they said something like he lost his memory from a vicious attack.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
They're like he lost his family and all he's got's that bag.
The Lost in Cleveland vignette thing.
But
we'll get to that.
Yeah, because it's time for a title match between Rick Rude and Ric Flair, the Battle of the Ricks.
Rick and Rick. Rick with a C, Rick with a K.
Yep. So Rick Rude he's the champ, so he comes in second. Obviously, everyone's seen Ric Flair come in. There's nothing special here. He's with Mademoiselle Fifi.
His soon-to-be wife, I think. I think she was his third wife.
So this is in kayfabe, his French maid. They talk about her cleaning the floors a lot and that kind of fun jokes. But yeah, Rick Rude comes in, as if you heard the start of the podcast, will play his excellent music.
Good.
He's got his robe is nicer than Ric Flair's. I'm just gonna say it. It's more tasteful, I would say. Fits him better.
Agreed.
And he looks excellent with that belt, the big gold belt. Yeah. It just fits him like a dream.
Also, shout out for his amazingly spray painted tights.
Yep. He's got
with
Halloween.
Ric Flair with a black eye, Fifi on the other leg, and then a big on his arm. And they're just
it says Rick or Treat as well on the leg.
Yes, Rick or Treat. It's just class. Like, that's the one thing as well I loved about Rick. Like, every single match he had in a pay-per-view, he'd have a different pair of tights, theme, and all that sort of stuff on. And you just think that's fucking effort, man. And we need that effort back. People need to just bring back spray-painted items in the ring.
He's just having fun. And if you listen to like any Steve Austin interviews about Rick Rude, constantly stoned, so he probably thought those trunks were hilarious.
yeah. And also, I looked up, I think Rick Rude in this match is 35 years old.
Whoa.
Older than 35 years old. I think at least.
That's about my
Wrestling
age.
was a hard job. Yeah. I'm older than Rick Rude is in that match.
Same, yeah.
But it's weird, this match, because Rick Rude and Ric Flair are both really genuinely excellent wrestlers.
Yeah.
Rick Rude is, I could watch Rick Rude matches all. He's had great matches against other fantastic wrestlers. His stuff with Steamboat was proper good, and all that sort of stuff. But for some reason, when he wrestled Flair, the matches weren't that good.
Yeah,
so I don't think this was great.
I wrote down two very stiff men. It was like because they're just not like, there's no like dynamics. It's just like two guys like smashing up against each other.
It's really flat.
The
really
figure
flat
four's
match.
put on within like the first 2 minutes, and then again we're in another my knee hurts match. But yeah, like, so obviously Flair's got a complicated sort of wrestling style where it's like he's normally heel. He works best as heel because, if the heel, like the figure four is a heel move because it's designed to get reversed when they roll over, and to be like, he got his comeuppance and all that stuff. Or it's designed to hurt people's knees and be like, that damn Ric Flair, he's broke his leg and all that stuff. So yeah, he has to, like, his wrestling style is heel. Like, he sort of cheats and he does like dirty moves and stuff. So it's just really weird. Also, unfortunately for Rick Rude, he's got a big old snot in his nose for like a good half of this match.
There is a Rick Booger. There's a Rick Booger. And look, you've got people out there.
It dribbles on Ric Flair's face at some point, I think, by the looks of it. What are you doing?
Oh God!
No Ric Flair on the mic tonight, which is nice.
Shouting all the time for his what did Scott Steiner say? Crooked yellow teeth and skin like a Shar-Pei puppy. I just felt like this match was really oddly paced as well. There was a lot of So there's a lot of time wasted by Rick Rude, which sort of makes sense because he's the heel.
Yeah.
And who they naturally try and time waste. They go out the ring and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of rest holds in this. And I don't know if one of them was injured or maybe he's working a bit injured. I'm not sure, but it just felt
Rude
like...
had back problems, like, quite bad, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I think this is before he damaged it so badly with the match with Sting that he had to retire. But maybe he's right. Maybe nursing something, but it just felt like they didn't, like you said, was perfectly. There was no dynamics between the two of them. They were doing their moves. They were doing it competently. It's not like the botch or anything like that. There was just nothing. It just had no bite, and the crowd again though. The crowd were well into. The crowd were like hooting and howling.
I think unfortunately for us, the modern viewer, like back then, Ric Flair was just like an event to see. Like there was something like old Grandma I saw in the crowd, like who I hadn't seen the rest of the night. And I was like, oh, she's here for Ric Flair, like. But like it was okay. Like I'm not the biggest like Flair fan. Like I haven't seen anything yet, which really lets me understand him. Like why people like him. There was also a weird like gimmick of two referees in this match, where there's one on the outside and a ref on the inside. And the outside ref was being really harsh on Rick Rude, like as in like stopping his cheating and stuff. And Jesse was just like, he's only doing those things to Rick Rude. It does lead to a double ref bump later on though, near the end, which is hilarious because I was like, yay, ref bump, and then the other one gets in and he gets knocked over as well. And again, another sneaky DQ finish because Rude's gonna use the brass knucks again. Is it a Rolex?
No, Ric Flair uses the knucks. I think
he gets caught.
He pulls them out of his tights. So he gets caught using them. That's
it comes out of Rude's tights, and then they do the switcheroo, and Ric Flair's like, I'm too much of a dirty cheat. I can't not use them, and that gets him like DQ'd because the second ref is like, hang on, I saw him cheat.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they decided to do like two refs and a championship match and like a cheating angle. Like,
I have a feeling that both of them didn't want to lose cleanly.
Yeah.
And they both didn't want to look weak.
And they both wanted to be healed.
They both were heels, They both wanted to be heels. So they'll come up with some convoluted shit that meant that none of them lost their heat and they both looked like shitty arseholes.
Two people who've had lots of recreational drugs, like chatting, like making, like calling the match.
Probably. So I can imagine.
It sounds like a great idea at the hotel bar, and then they check the notes the next day and they're like, did I say that? But yeah.
That was a shite ending.
Yeah, another one, but he retains the title though because it's a DQ, so Rude is still the champion.
Yeah, Flair doesn't get the title, and the bit at the end where Rick Rude sort of steals Fifi for a bit.
Yeah, they like fight on the ramp a little bit.
But he's got her like up here.
Yep.
And looks like he's like.
He nicely.
Trying to
noticed. Apparently, I was reading a little bit about Rick Rude, and apparently he was like a proper like gentleman. His character was nothing like him in real life. He was faithful to his wife and stuff like that. But I noticed he dropped her on her feet as well, not like Shawn Michaels who just like dumped Sherry on the floor. he was holding her up here, but then he placed her back on her feet so she could run away when he got knocked into.
Also, we've got to shout out to Rick Rude. I think when he did his little coming into the ring bit, he called them all you Louisiana lowlifes.
Yeah.
And let me show you what a real man and all that sort of thing. I like listen to what he comes out with. I think Louisiana lowlifes. Was it something Sweat Hogs? Was another one?
He said Sweat Hogs a lot, which is hilarious.
Love it.
He did gyrated Fifi at one point when he got in the corner. He's like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's really horrible.
Dear. And one thing he didn't do in the match that I missed, at least I don't remember him doing it, was selling it in a top. Rick Rude is my favourite seller of an atomic drop.
No,
and if anybody out there wants to be a wrestler, watch how Rick Rude sells an atomic.
Yeah, I don't think there was maybe one of those knee drop things. It was all knee work tonight. But now we're into our main event, the Texas Death Match between Cactus Jack and Big Van Vader. I was hyped for this though. They did a really good build up because they didn't shove it in your face, but obviously you had the wheel, you had the little vignettes and stuff. They dropped enough hints where I was like, oh, this is gonna be super exciting. I don't think it disappointed. I think it was very fun overall. They basically start the match by brawling immediately, which is what everyone wants.
I love shit like that.
Yeah, Cactus Jack just gets half of his entrance because Vader's on him on the ramp.
They try to shit him. I mean, the one thing as well that I think, and the ending's obviously a bit screwy, and we'll get to that.
Yeah,
and that is what it is. But when I watched this match the first time, I obviously watched it in isolation. I'd never seen any of the lead in. I'd never seen any of the even never seen any of your matches in April and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So those bits that they had at the beginning, because go back 1 year, 1992, they were both massive heels.
Yeah.
So Cactus Jack wasn't a babyface; he was a massive heel. He was in a pro. I think it was Ron Simmons was a champion, the heel for Ron Simmons sort of thing. And then in the early-ish, and I think it was pretty early '93, he started turning babyface, and that's because the crowd started cheering him. Because he was doing mental shit, and people were going, oh, he's cool, he's doing mental shit. And so they put him in a program with Vader where Vader would basically beat the shit out of him, and Cactus Jack would get back up and try and beat the shit out of him back. And then they had 2 really good matches in April of '93 where Cactus Jack won the first one after getting absolutely beaten the shit out of. And then he got Vader counted out and won, and everyone was like, holy shit, wow. And the second match was where Vader powerbombed him on the concrete. Lost his memory, and that led to the whole Lost in Cleveland, which we'll not talk about shit.
Yeah.
And then this was their first match afterwards. Of him coming back after that.
Powerbomb on the concrete in wrestling makes you lose your memory. Got it. Good to know.
Yes.
Good to watch out for.
In 1993. And then what I did as well about this match is because it wasn't a title match.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a title match, because if you'd put Vader and Cactus Jack in a title match together, everybody would have said Vader's going to win, because there was no way they were going to give Cactus Jack the world title. And you start for fuck's sake.
Yeah, because he said he was the world heavyweight champion, wasn't he? Which is is that a different belt, a different looking belt? But he didn't come out with it, did he?
2 belts at the time.
Yeah. So he's the biggest, the heavyweight, obviously.
I can't remember. I didn't confuse him because it wasn't a title match.
Yeah.
I think it made it more realistic that Jack could potentially win.
Absolutely,
because I think it just, So there was, and because of it being a death match, it plays to his strengths. Because his previous matches have all shown, he goes to the outside, and have him on the outside, an elbow on you, chuck you.
Yeah, or he can use tricks to win rather than he's not just trapped in the ring with Vader.
No, exactly. And having to do snap men. And also they made the whole point of the match is Cactus Jack doesn't necessarily want to win. his matches. He just wants to hurt the person that he's wrestling enough that he can beat them. So I think it makes it. Yeah, and obviously you've got, you know, Vader's hard as fuck and will punch the shit out of people, and then Cactus Jack can easily take someone punching the shit out of him.
It looks horrible though, because like that's like the first thing that happens in the match, where he's just like grabbing him by the hair and like punching him with the other hand. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, his hot, his poor face. He immediately starts bleeding out of like the side of his eye from those punches. Like you can tell that's not like a blade job. That's just like he hit him so hard. His face exploded. Yeah, there's a couple of unprotected chair shots immediately. Vader just takes one directly to the top of the head. He does protect himself on the ramp later, so he probably was like, oh, that didn't feel so good.
Yeah, whereas I just put my arm up for this one.
I love it because they just like brawl everywhere, and then like they get up on the ramp and like the set, and like the commentator's like, they're going to the graveyard. Yeah. You get this friggin' like this is what makes wrestling amazing. Every now and then you will get like a completely cinematic shot that is done live and with real performers, where this could like it might not work, but you get that magic like lightning in a bottle moment. Like for me in this match, when Vader comes out of like walks up out of the grave covered in blood, I'm just oh hell yeah, like it's on now.
and behind him has that R.I.P. Vader.
Yes, and like smoke, you know, like dry ice smoke and stuff, and I'm just like, this is art.
This is wrestling.
Definitely.
Yeah. There was another bit just before they went to the ramp that I noticed as well, as where they were. It was Cactus that was like punching Vader, and he grabs a camera from somebody in the audience, fucking batters Vader with it, and then gives it back.
That would have destroyed a camera.
No, that person. Oh, easily. Like, proper fuck that
I did
camera.
have that thought, though, during this, like, during this, the Sid Sting fight, actually, because I saw people taking, like, you know, shots when the crowd brawling. I'd really love it if anyone's got an album of, like, I went to see WCW, and I've got all these, like, you know, like, 90s, like, film shots in an album somewhere. Being like, here's Cactus Jack covered in blood.
Yeah! Looking
really
proper gnarly.
The
other thing I will say as well, like the fucking clothes that Vader throws at Cactus Jack. And he just fucking canes him.
Yeah.
And he just and you just think, good bloody lord. The other thing as well I was quite impressed with, and I forgot about this, is the fact that Cactus Jack actually suplexed Vader over the top rope onto the ramp. And I'm like, he's not no strength, but like Vader's huge.
Yeah,
to be able
Vader
to actually suplex him.
Vader like sails over there as well. He does a really good job on it. Also, the commentators somehow dropped the ball on this, but Cactus Jack hits Vader with a cactus that he's pulled out of the set dressing, and the commentators did not really mention that at all. And I'm like, surely. In his head, he was like, "This is gonna be hilarious!" Like,
but
yeah, and then you know, there's like a table. A table comes into play, which is hilarious because it gets set up.
Solid table.
It gets set up in the corner. Cactus Jack whips Vader into it, and he just bounces off it belly first like a balloon man.
Yeah, I've got it down. Vader just bounced like a big squishy penny floater. He's boing and then comes back off of it. It's insane. And then obviously Cactus Jack just before that had done his elbow on the bloody concrete.
I hate the concrete elbow. Because ever since I learned about how it was like messing his hip up, it just makes me like feel pain every time I see it.
It's just awful. And then the word. Well, he's got two more stars. The one after the table is where he sunset flips off
to the outside,
the apron over Vader onto the concrete, and you just think, what the fuck? And then he's underneath, and Vader goes to jump and sits on him, and he gets out the way just in time. And oh my god!
I wrote that down again. I was like, "There's the belly bounce," and then I was like, he also does a butt bounce on the floor.
Butt bounce. Bouncy boy.
Vader's just a wrecking ball.
He is. And then you get the bit where Harley Race flash to Harley Race. Go, what are you doing? What are you
with his taser?
Yeah.
He's like trying it out to make sure it works.
Yeah, get out of here. Get out of here.
You bother me.
Yeah, go away, kid. You bother me.
Oh, I think the worst hit I noted down for poor old Cactus Jack was Vader hits his moonsault just about.
Yes.
It's not a bit. He just hits it, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It looks great.
It looks cool.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Then I think they work their way onto the ramp again, but Cactus is on his when he's on his back, and Vader just like drops backwards and squishes him like a pancake, and it looks awful.
Horrible. I just said it's the worst fucking thing.
Yeah.
He squashes Mick Foley like an absolute bag of mince.
Yeah.
And then I read this in his autobiography. That was a spot that Mick Foley wanted to do before end his career. So he was so annoyed and pissed off with creative and where he was and stuff like that he was just wanting wrestling. Oh. So he was hoping that by Vader basically squashing him because he was so big, he would actually damage him enough that he would have to retire. But it didn't. Jeez. All it did was perforate a kidney.
Oh man, not the kidneys,
he finished the rest of the apparently a torn kidney or like a perforated kidney or something. Oh, but yeah, he was hoping that would actually finish his made of titanium or some shit.
Oh yeah, him and Terry Funk are like made of different stuff. I don't know what happened to them.
No. But yeah, that spot because you can see him go outwards.
Yeah.
And then go back inwards. It's like a fucking tune.
Like a car crash, like
thing?
like a car crash impact, like or something.
Awful.
So we haven't talked about the slightly confusing rules. Of a Texas death match.
Yes.
So I think I'm gonna have to refer back to
from what I understand from OG Texas death matches, so it's falls count anywhere.
Yeah.
So you can pin your person anywhere. There's no DQs. There's no. I don't believe there's submissions either.
Not really,
I think it's just pins.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is pin them, count to 3, 1, 2, 3, and in a classic Texas death match, from what I remember, is that you have 10 seconds to get up on your feet.
I would have thought so, like a last man standing type of deal.
And if you don't answer the 10 count, the other person wins. Yeah. This, for some reason, they have a 30-second rest period, then the 10 count, which doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah. I don't know why it's 30 seconds. That feels far too long.
Yeah.
So what they basically do is that they'll get a pin. There's a 30-second rest period. Then there's 10 seconds from dance.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's needlessly complicated, and the announcer and the referee have to work together on it. Like the ring announcer sort of person has to do the 30 count, and then the referee does the 10 count. So you get this weird thing where like they're both sort of stepping over each other's areas and things like that. But so it does create some confusing moments because they say falls don't count, yet falls count because it triggers the ending mechanism.
Yes, that's right. So it doesn't count in the sense that if you get a fall that you automatically win. It's that it does trigger that count. Yes, so you are spot on. It is badly worded.
And Vader is reluctant to even bother doing any pins. Like, I don't know if that was like worked into the character or if he was genuinely forgetting, but he kind of like wanders around after he does a big move and is like, oh, I guess I'll pin him. I guess I'll try and win.
Because the impression I got after watching this a few times is that because Cactus Jack's now a babyface, they're trying to build him up a little bit.
Yeah.
And so he can get his revenge on Vader a bit. They're not going to let him win, but they're letting him get pins.
And letting him be
first, because he gets the first 2 pins, I think, before Vader then
he gets one off his elbow drop, like I think quite early on.
And then he gets one before they go into the grave, where he just runs out of nowhere and clotheslines Vader, and he gets a pin there as well. And then obviously Vader has where he just pushes the fucking shit out, waffles him, and does whatever. Does a fucking chair shot that looks like it cleans Foley's fucking heat off. And then does a DDT onto the same chair, which looks quite brutal as well. Vader, and then he gets that pin.
Yeah, Vader scares off all the paramedics as well that are trying to check on Cactus Jack.
Kicks the bag and...
yeah, he throws the medicine bag away. None of that. But yeah, this is where the stun gun spot comes in. So Harley Race has a stun gun. If anyone doesn't know, he was a wrestler. Very, very capable, tough guy. He's now playing like the silly, like evil manager for Vader, which is fine. He looks like he's having an absolute blast, like throughout any of this. So it's his job to hit Cactus Jack with the stun gun, like the classic one from all the American movies, like Batman Returns and stuff, like that kind of thing. It sounds real because it's got that electrical crackle going on. I noticed he doesn't have it live when he touches Cactus Jack with it.
Nope.
So the problem with that is Jack doesn't realize it's happening, and then he has to sort of react after the fact. I can pretend to be zapped. This is why sometimes in wrestling you need like a bit more distractions for the crowd. Like if they'd gimmicked up the stun gun a bit, like had it make like a pop, like a firework or something. I think that would have helped. It would have been unrealistic, but it would have been like, that pop, and then he would have known when to like fall and stuff like that.
I mean, to be fair, it wouldn't surprise me if Mick Foley had asked for it to be really stun gunned, and then they went, no, for insurance purposes, Mick, we're not going to do that. But it's like, all right. At
the end of this match, no, I would definitely not suggest that, because that's like a heart stopper waiting to happen. But yeah, so like this starts quite a confusing thing, because the stun gun happens mid 10 count.
Yes.
So I tried to write this down as best I could. So Vader gets a pin. Cactus Jack gets up before the 30 count and DDTs Vader.
Yes.
So at this point, we're in the rest period when a DDT happens. So the ref starts to count to 10 for both men, because they're both like clapped out on the floor, because he obviously this sucks. This match is hard. So as they're both getting up for the 10 count, that's when the stun gun hits. Jack falls like on 9. And Vader is left standing, equals the winner.
Yeah, because the ref doesn't see the stun gun. The camera work's not great, so the ref is facing Vader when Cactus Jack gets stunned. So he doesn't see the fact that Jack had got back to his feet. Yeah. So he assumed that he just had been sparked out for the entire 10 count. Yeah. So that's why Vader ends up winning. You can hear the crowd kind of go, "Ooh, they didn't like that. They didn't like that finish at all." And it finished. But it does do the job of getting Cactus Jack over,
massively,
he didn't actually lose. He was, it was cheated out of him, and Vader's a little cheating, so so for that purpose it worked. But it is a very sloppy.
It was a little confusing.
Yes.
But,
yes, it was.
Maybe it looked a bit better live, because you wouldn't have been like zoomed in on the stun gun, because it was like the camera
in on Cactus's thigh.
Yeah, the camera went really close for it, and again, I think they should have used some visual tricks to sort of hide it a little bit. But yeah, look, it was a blast of a match. It was very Halloween Havoc as well. Like that was literally Halloween Havoc, like happening.
Yeah, it was bloody. It was mildly terrifying in places. So
had all of the everything except the kitchen sink, as far as like hardcore weapons flying around and gravestones.
Yeah, you had a table, you had a cactus being used.
Yeah,
you had rolling into a grave. You had things onto concrete. Fucking arses and sunset flips and elbows.
Vader is a human weapon, so like he counts for like 10 hardcore items in my book.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it. We just I think we just go to credits, don't we? Because WCW has credits that fly across.
Oh no, I think it cuts back to Tony and Jesse dressed as themselves, and then they kind of thank you for coming and hope you enjoyed it. We've just seen a man being tased, but don't worry about it, kid. Bye. Toodles.
Oh, but yeah, I love that. I'm giving Halloween Havoc 93 all my Foley thumbs up, bang bang, everything.
Bang bang, finger guns. I thought it was really, really solid. Like
and that is the go home match is just like. Because like that's the thing, like I did watch this in parts. I watched like maybe like an hour or so a night over a little while, but I felt like the pace it never like fell down massively. Like there was a couple of moments where I was like, it's a little bit boring, but this just like elevated the energy, like took the energy right back up to like the maximum. Like because you were just like, what is going to happen between these two very dangerous men.
And I think the crowd as well, like it's seen again solid matches,
3 hours
some
as well,
matches,
and they still woke
3
up.
hours of matches. Yeah, they're still there, and they still got hyped. Excellent. And then they've got these two terrifying people. One of them looks like a sweaty bison who's just mad at everybody, and the other one looks like a lad who should be in some sort of facility for the mentally unstable.
Yeah.
Just beating the shit out of each other, and it's just that's. You've had all your technical mumbo jumbo and your high flying stuff. He has two large men just pasting blood out of each other and throwing themselves around and having a right good time. Bouncing their mince bag bodies all around the arena. And that's the end, everyone. Go home, have a long time. And I can imagine that, if you were there in the crowd, it was a really good, fast-paced, hyped match. And, when you look at what they did to each other in that last, they barely let up on each other. No. And it was 15 minutes long. You know what I mean? They were fucking going for each other for 15 minutes.
There were moments that were horrible. Like, I wanted to look away when Vader was hitting him in the face repeatedly. I was like, I don't want to see this anymore. Poor Mick Foley.
There is a worse match for that, where I think it was one of the April ones in 93, where you actually see him like punching Mick Foley's nose and look like actually breaking it. It's kind of cool.
Sloop's got the bloodlust.
I love hardcore shit.
Throwing batteries at Vader. But yeah, like I had a massively good time because I'm not that up on like Vader history or Cactus Jack history, apart from like I would have seen DVDs and thing, like Mick Foley DVDs where they maybe chucked 1 or 2 like Cactus Jack matches on like as bonuses and things. So I'm loving seeing like how he was. I mean, I've read his book when I was a kid, so I know like roughly his story and stuff, but being able to finally see it in all of its glory and
some good stuff.
There's just something special about him and Vader as well. Like as a pair, they're just insane.
Good, so good. I mean, the two both the April matches of it. But they had some proper good stuff. Like they were just they were perfect for each other because I think they were so comfortable with each other that they could go full ham. Like Vader could just punch the shit out of him because he knew
he would keep
Mick Foley would be like, okay, I'll take it. I don't mind, and I'll back.
Can you imagine if he tried that on Hogan? That would be beautiful.
Can you imagine? Don't hit me, brother.
But on that note, thank you for everyone who's dropped in and checked us out. Feel free to come and chat to any of us about WCW anywhere.
Or just wrestling in general.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about.
But yeah, we'll be back. We haven't picked out what the next episode is, but we'll be back next month with a different pay-per-view that we will dig into and have fun with. But yeah, so we've had double bulldogs. Who knows what the next tenuous link will be next time that we figure out.
We'll find the one with his son in or something like that.
He's class. He's really good, but I've only seen him in New Japan.
So far.
But yep, I've been Jake from Nerdy Up North. I do the things. I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter lately on the channel. That's been great. I love that shit. Sloop's been Sloop. You can find her on her own secret Discords. You need a password to get in and everything.
Secret place.
It's a secret stable, the DX Express.
Oh no! Clubhouse. Oh god, not the DX.
But yeah, let's go back to Ravishing Rick Rude's music for everyone.
Yes.
Hit the fireworks and hit the music.
He's simply ravishing.